Very quick lap from Lando Norris right at the end there, out on softs. That's kind of changed the face of everything that we saw yesterday. But let's just
Yeah,
get your take, first of all, on what we saw in the bulk of the session. Only Max Verstappen seemed to do any sort of long run with fuel in the car.
yeah. I mean, I guess that's a response to him appearing to be somewhat slower than Lando Norris yesterday in P2. So obviously he thought he needed to do a bit more running on high fuel. I thought that was a little bit odd though, because looking at it yesterday, it just seemed that Max was just taking a lot easier on the tyres in the heavy fuel yesterday. So it, it almost looked like he had almost no degradation at all on his heavy fuel run on the medium, whereas Lando was pushing quite a lot harder on the soft and had some degradation. And also Charles Leclerc was pushing very hard at the start of his run on the medium and had quite a lot of degradation. And so a bit surprised that they felt that they've actually got a problem. So obviously he's not feeling great in the car, and they decided to do something about it. But the other thing that's a bit odd is that yesterday Max was very, very good in the slow speed corners. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, and also in the stadium section, 13, 14, 15. Whereas today, the only sector he was super quick in was sector 2. So it's kind of an inverse, which is a bit odd. But yesterday he looked phenomenal in 4 and 5 in particular.
Yeah, he did. And I mean, right at the end there, yesterday, Lando did that 21-0, which I suppose freaked them out a bit on the medium tyre. But as you say, the run yesterday wasn't at all bad, and it was relatively consistent compared with, say, Ferrari.
Yeah,
Anyway, if you look at his run today, it was an 8 lap run. It was quite a long run too. I mean, they obviously put a lot of thought into doing that today, and
yeah.
maybe that distracted from what they were doing on the soft right at the end. I mean, I don't know if that's the case. Would that be possible as well?
It is something that you do when you're not happy with what you've done on Friday, and it's something that we have done before with different drivers. Nico particularly used to want to do it in Haas the last couple of years, but it does detract because you spend a lot of time sort of just filling the car up and just changing your settings on the steering wheel
Mm.
potentially, and the driver has to get into a different mindset, and it can be a little bit damaging to the process of just getting fully hooked up for qualifying. But again, it's Max, so you wouldn't think that would be too much of a problem. But he just he just generally didn't seem that much as together with the car today as he had done yesterday on low fuel. So it is a bit of a puzzle, I have to say. I'm just wondering if he's going to get to qualifying, change his mindset, and it's all going to come back together again. But if they did do something to the car overnight because of the heavy fuel running that they genuinely thought wasn't good enough, they might want to be undoing that right now and getting the car back to where it was yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, they went to a lot of trouble to actually to do 3 quick laps on those soft tires, doing a quick lap, then 2 slow, and then right at
Yeah,
the end they did 1 slow. It's
yeah,
almost as if they're preparing for a qualifying session where there's going to be a lot of laps, and you need to
yeah,
stay out there on the soft and make sure you get enough out of it after on 3 quick laps.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely the tires do get very hot, and so you're going to need to do either two slow laps on track, or you're going to want to come through the pit lane, possibly even stop in the box and wait for 20, 30, 40, even up to a minute to let the cools down before you go back out again. In Q1, whether you do multiple laps in Q2 and Q3 is another matter because obviously those sessions are a lot shorter.
Yeah.
You don't have as much time to do that. But it still looks like the tyres are best on the first lap if you get the fronts ready for turn 1 on the out lap, which we saw a few people struggle with on the mediums at the start of this P3 session. A few people going straight on at either turn 1 or turn 4.
Yeah. Uh, turn one, Carlos Sainz, a big turn one.
Yeah,
Just on the subject of Carlos Sainz, what do you think of that little sort of vertical
yeah, they've
buffer
moved.
they've got on the apex of turn 2 now?
Yeah, it's almost like they've tried to foil him, haven't they? Because they've moved that bollard into where he was putting his tyre, but no one else was. So it's a bit of a shame for Carlos, I think. Because actually,
I mean, it's difficult to imagine what the thinking is there, unless I don't know, unless all the other teams have said it's not fair, he's much better than us, or maybe they're all doing a lot of damage there in trying to do that, and this is a sort of compromise of. But they don't really care about the teams getting underfloor damage, do they?
We didn't. I don't remember cars getting damaged there in the past. It was just that Carlos was better at being more precise. But I think the only problem is that there might be a lot of focus on track limits, people getting chucked out for track limits at turn 2. If it stayed where it was, and maybe they're just keen for that not to upset the flow of qualifying, so they've moved it in so that track limits just isn't an issue with people trying to do that. But I do think it's a bit of a shame for Carlos, because that was definitely something he was good at. I did think yesterday he looked pretty strong in the slow speed. I think he likes this track. He goes very well here, and I think the Williams just was holding him back a little bit. I don't think he was quick enough to be sort of front 2 rows, but I do think he's looking like he could get into Q3 if he gets his lap together. But he and Albon both screwed up their last runs, didn't they, on the soft at the end of the session, so they didn't get the times in.
So Lando Norris 16.6, Oscar Piastri 17.2.
It's not looking good for Oscar.
It's getting worse.
Yeah, he didn't look good yesterday, and he's not looking good today. It's just not happening for him, is it? Something's not quite right there.
I mean, you suggested when we spoke last time there's maybe something going on with the anti-dive that they've changed on the car, but he's had enough time to get used to it now.
Well, that's the thing. It's as far as I know, he's had that most of the year, hasn't he? So it's not a recent change, but it is something that apparently is different to Lando's car, and I can see that it might help Lando, but he was quick earlier in the year relative to Lando with the same difference in car setup. So it's a bit odd, and I don't think it counts for that big difference in lap time. There's no way it's that much. So he just seems to be struggling just to get the car rotated in the low speed, generally speaking.
Yeah. And when it is a car as good as a 16.6 car, which is obviously efficient downforce, grip, balance, all the rest of it, actually 0.6 of a second is even more of a gap than it is if it's a bad car, really.
Yeah. It's really huge. But on the other hand, Max was similarly slow today.
Yeah.
So everybody else went 6 or 7 tenths quicker than yesterday. Max only went 2 tenths quicker. Oscar was slow yesterday and is the same offset to Lando today, roughly. So he has gone quicker, but Max is the only one who's actually not picked up the lap time you'd expect. So, yeah, it's very puzzling, to be honest. Very puzzling.
Mercedes back into the frame more than they were in Austin, as you predicted, indeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quite an interesting battle between Ferrari and Mercedes brewing.
Yeah, and I don't think it's impossible that George Russell could put something in, cat amongst pigeons. I think pole position isn't impossible. And I actually thought Lewis was looking really strong. Looking at his laps yesterday, I think there's potential for a very good lap time, possibly more so even than Charles Leclerc. So Lewis was one of the closest to Max yesterday in those slow speed corners. George and Kimi Antonelli, actually, I think he's looking pretty sharp as well. So it is looking like a very tight battle for the front, maybe not for the pole, because Lando was looking so fast today, but the other positions in the top 5, I think there's a lot of variation, and it's going to come down to just getting that lap absolutely nailed.